Welcome to another oil painting video. Today we are going to be painting Woman by the Sea. This is a 16 by 20 inch cotton canvas that has been toned with a neutral gray acrylic underneath of this, and then over top of it we have wet oil paint. This is phthalo blue and ivory black with safflower oil and linseed oil, approximately 50-50 mixture. So I'm going to go ahead and use just straight white, and we're going to kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of the water in the distance. And I'm going to be pushing the light with this painting a little bit more than the previous ones. So the vignette, so to speak, is going to be down here. You can see these pretty neat effects that you can get from painting wet into wet. That's kind of cool. The effects that you can see here with this technique with oil painting. So let's go ahead and just push these shapes around till eventually we will get kind of a ocean or water like look to it. And I was very generous with how much white that I'm using, because I'm going to have an orangey light on the model when we paint the model in here, and that's going to have to contrast with this blue. And we're letting some of the darks, I'm letting some of the darks underneath kind of hint at waves. This is a gentle shape. Again, we're going for more of an expressive look, yet still with a hint of realism in the painting. I'm more focused right now on the value. I'm a little bit late today for those of you that have been here for a while now. I don't even know what number we're on with the paintings in this series, but it's a lot. Yeah, Wednesdays and Fridays are a little more difficult for me because I have a little side job, a dog walking. Nothing too major. I'm just walking the mother-in-law's border collie named Zorro. I might end up painting Zorro one of these days. I trained him. He had some behavioral issues when my mother-in-law adopted him, but anyway, long story short, she wanted me to walk him a little bit later today, so I got stuck in traffic on the way back. Go figure. Northern Virginia traffic. Anyway, it's kind of exhausting to move your arm around with these shapes. Hey Gigi. The show Zorro. I don't think I saw the show. I've seen The Mask of Zorro, like, I don't know, probably 20 years ago. Okay, so now we just disrupt these little waves. Neat little effects that we can get with this technique. Pretty cool what we can do with this. And that's a pretty light value. But I'm going to have to push it even more. So I'm going to add more of the white and change my mind. I'm going to leave that the way it is. I changed my mind. I'm going to get a different brush. Let's get a size 6 Egbert Robert Simmons bristle brush. And the model is going to fit somewhere over here. I leave my brushes in a container of linseed oil and safflower oil. I forgot to mention I put some safflower oil in that container. So this is what was already on the brush. And top of the head's probably going to exist somewhere over there. So let's say the model's head is going to be here. And we're going to pretend that we're looking down on the model a little bit. Now the head's not going to be that big, but that's probably where it's going to fit. Arm over here, shoulder, another shoulder over here, back side of the model, somewhere over here. Now I exaggerate with the size of the head. It's not going to be that big. It's probably going to fit maybe about, I don't know, right about there. Okay, alright, so let's go ahead and start to put in some darks. Dark shapes. And the colors on the palette, now that, in case anybody's wondering, you said I'm way too young. Zora was October 1957. Oh, okay, yeah, I don't think I was around back then. Here's the colors on my palette, in case anybody's curious. Lead white number 2, titanium white, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow deep, Indian yellow, burnt sienna, cadmium red light, alizarin crimson, sap green, cadmium green, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, and ivory black. The palette that I'm using is fairly large, so it wouldn't be good for me to have the palette on the corner because it would just be too much. But yeah, that's my palette. Wooden palette, I clean it every 2 days or so. Since I'm using safflower oil, I can kind of let it sit for a little bit. But if I let it sit for too long, not so good. It's a struggle to clean it. Alright, so the back side of the model's head, and there's going to be a very strong light coming over here on this direction. I'm using black and alizarin. Hey Celeste. Celeste, I'll respond to your Patreon comment. Yes, you can send me pictures of stuff that you're working on aside from the projects. However, I won't be able to put that in the virtual classroom because I changed that rule a while ago. But you can still send me your pictures and I'll make a little video for you. Alright, so that proportion is alright for the model's head. Now I'm going to go in with a different brush. Notice I use a lot of brushes because I do a lot of painting in a short amount of time, relatively short amount of time. That's kind of the point of this series, is to be able to push the limits of what I can do with oil paint. So Celeste and Maitha, I gotta respond to your Patreon message. Yeah, it's been kind of a little wild, like 24 hours for me since yesterday. But anyway, I'm back. Almost didn't make it today, but I'm still here. Alright, shoulder is gonna fit over here. I'll say there's gonna be a little shoulder over there. Changing brush once again. Shape of the head is gonna fit over there. Oh, you're at the dentist. Oh my goodness, yeah, good luck to you. I hate the dentist office. I don't hate dentists. I just hate going to the dentist. Let me tell you something. The dentist is probably top fears that people have next to heights and public speaking. I'm pretty sure going to the dentist is up there. Okay, so that's a decent size for the model's head. Let me quickly switch to the close-up so we can see how big or how small it is going to be for details. That's all right. That's okay. It's okay. Okay, so the hair model's arm is gonna fit over here. Now we're just throwing these shapes into position. We will add some specificity to this later, but like I said, I'm kind of changing styles a little bit to a more expressive, whatever that means. I don't really know. We're trying to do something different here with these paintings. Elbow right about, I want to say here, perhaps. Maybe the elbow is going to land there. While this is still abstract, I'm going to go ahead and block this in. It's not realistic enough that the internet is going to think that she's not wearing anything. Hopefully it's not realistic enough. But I'm just trying to kill off some of that tone. Now with the quickness, I'm going to go in and add clothing. So shirt and skirt. A little bit of yellow. I'm gonna use Indian yellow. Oh, thanks, Celeste. Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough day. Tough 24 hours. But we are here. Alright. Now lights on the back side over here. Model is wearing a skirt. Light is over here. While I have this, I'm gonna go ahead and use red and orange. Yeah, I made sure to keep this very not realistic when I blocked that in. I knew I needed to block in a little bit of a red there. Alright, light on the shoulder. And I'm using cadmium yellow deep, but it's the Winsor Newton cadmium free, and it is no good. I don't like it. I prefer the real stuff. Give me the real cadmiums. Cadmium yellow deep from Winsor Newton is totally fine, but the Grumbacher is my favorite. Alright, drawing wise now. Shoulder goes up to about there. These are quite strong colors. The Botticelli doesn't seem quite right. That's funny. Now I'm going in with this orangey color really fast because we are gonna jump right into form. Like I said, I'm a little late today, and if need be, I'll work on this tomorrow. But I like a challenge. And I don't know, it's just kind of my aesthetic right now. I'm trying to go for something different. I think every portrait painter, every figurative painter in history, except for Bouguereau, I've kind of gone through a stage where, you know, that the realism is not the main thing anymore. Like, think about Rembrandt. Think about Sargent with his watercolors. Hey, Mark L. So the realism is still going to be much more than this. Got a bunch of brushes in hand. And I'm gonna go so far as to add, oh, this is gonna be a risk here, but with palette knife, cadmium red. Let me clean this off. Need some more paper towel. Because I'm going to be pushing light with this. The number one complaint I'm getting from significant other is that my paintings are too dark. So let's go with palette knife, add in this red, and I'm going with the cadmium yellow. That's so bright, it almost looks green. That's because I used lemon yellow. My mistake. Cadmium yellow. It's going to look scary at first. Very 2D. But I'm doing this because I need a bright value. A bright color, excuse me. It's gonna look like she's sunburned at first. Oh yeah, on Instagram. Yeah, I can post the figure stuff on Instagram. I don't have enough of a following where people are gonna report it on Instagram like it happens with other painters. Okay, so now we've added more of that cadmium yellow. It's so bad, I might end up throwing this tube out. The cadmium free Winsor Newton is just no good. It's just no good. This feels like I'm painting with like a water mixable color. And nothing against water mixable, obviously. I have no problem with it. But it's its own thing. It's not meant to be strong. But oil paint is supposed to be strong. And they charge the same too for the cadmium free. Alright, so we've pushed these reds. Just to push the light a little more. The palette knife. And we're gonna go in with a bright blue over here. And we're going to go in with straight lemon yellow here. Okay, now we're going to get an expendable brush, a cheap one, to push something light over here. Something like that, just so we have more of a sense of light. This is going to contrast with this blue. Okay, so here's something I tend to do when I start paintings off like this with very strong color. I go in with palette knife and blend it till it gets really soft, or not soft, but feels soft, but flat. This is not a start for the faint of heart. If this kind of start scares you, then do a classical start. There's no shame in that. Okay, so that's good. That's all good there. Alright, so let's switch gears to form. I had to do that because I needed to push the light. Even as it is now, if I were to take it out to the living room area, it now looks, I hope it looks bright enough. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. Oh no, hopefully not Picasso. That's one direction I will not go in, is Picasso. I needed to make a statement there. I will never go the Picasso route. I think he's one of the worst artists in history. And like I said, I don't have enough of a following that anyone's really going to care that I say that, but Picasso is one of the worst artists of all history. But great marketing, definitely great marketing. That's for sure. Alright, so we're pushing the light over here. Switch brushes. Side plane. This kind of start would also be really useful in acrylic, by the way. Those of you that are acrylic fans of acrylic paint. Because you can glaze really quickly with acrylic. Light over here. Picasso could paint classical realism because Bouguereau did it for him. He took Bouguereau's class and then took credit for the work that Bouguereau drew over top of his attempts at drawing. But Picasso himself could not draw to save his life. And I know that that's not nice for me to say, but Picasso is one of my least favorite people in art history. It's funny to me that he took credit for Bugaro's stuff, that he tried to correct his drawings. Like I said, classical painting, there's a way to learn it. It's very black and white, but he just didn't really have the drive, I guess, to do it. Either way, he lived his life. He made his money. He has a name synonymous with Einstein. Hopefully that'll change at some point in history. But hey, I wouldn't be real with you if I didn't tell you how it is. I almost threw someone out of a painting group once because Lucy was posing for portrait, and somebody said that she had a Picasso face. I almost threw them out. Suffice to say that that person didn't return to the painting group. Hey, Jonas. Like I said, we're almost kind of looking overhead a little bit. Yeah, I've seen it, but I've seen enough of Picasso to know it wasn't him. I've seen enough of Picasso to know he didn't do the realism or the drawing. I feel like artists need to learn or earn the right, I guess, to depart from realism. Like I said, realism is kind of like more of an analytic thing. Hey, Anna. Hey, oh, good. I'm glad you feel the same way. Yeah, I'm just telling everyone as it is. Like, I don't have a huge following here on YouTube anymore. Like, so I'm able to just say whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about too many people getting angry at me. I mean, there's like 8 people watching the stream. I'd probably have more people watching me paint if I was out painting by a subway, but I'm just telling you all as it is. Like, Picasso was a joke. Classical painting, I don't approach it any differently than anything else. If I want to go full classical, then I'll just draw the whole day with a pencil or with charcoal, just light and shadow, and then use it as a transfer. Like I said, like the nose and all this stuff is not in the right place yet, but I'm using these shapes to move them into the correct space. Yeah, no, I'm not into the abstract stuff either, unless it's in terms of composition. Abstract painting is nothing more than a compositional study for a realist painting. Yeah, I would almost prefer this be acrylic. because layering it with acrylic would be a lot easier, because you can just go in with a charcoal, just let it dry. Yeah, no, I won't do that though. I don't think I'd paint outside by a subway. I just use it as an analogy. I use it as an analogy. I'd rather just go back to painting faces on the internet. Which, like I said, I will do, right? I'll paint some realistic faces to balance these out. Yeah, realistic faces to balance the paintings in this series. I was thinking one thing I could do is move this series to Patreon only. I mean, for the live stuff, and just keep the faces for YouTube. That's one other route I could go. Yeah, it's definitely a change. Like I said before, like I'm not gonna just stop doing these whenever I do realistic faces. It's just we gotta pay the bills. This for YouTube is tough, and exactly because it can look kind of crazy at first. Oh, a lion. Well, I haven't done any animal or wildlife paintings in a while. That would probably have been a lot easier than what I've been doing. The figurative stuff. The expressive figurative stuff is probably the most difficult. But yeah, perhaps we'll do some animal paintings and some more still life. Well, thanks, Gigi. Still haven't found anyone that I would trust to tattoo that. Though, to be honest, I haven't really put too much effort into looking. All I did was just frame it and just put it on the wall. Yeah, this series, part of it is the challenge involved in what I'm doing. So that's part of the reason why I haven't done any more animal ones. It's because those are, I consider them a little bit easier. But it's all difficult. But I would say that the wildlife paintings, there's a little more forgiving than what I've been doing. Doesn't make it any less. It doesn't make it any less of a painting, but yeah, it's just the challenge is fun with these. I mean, in this time frame, right? We're at 38 minutes. In the classical approach, I mean, we would barely just be getting into shadows, just drawing shadows in. Yeah, so perhaps tomorrow or Friday we'll switch it up and do just a face. realistic face. Maybe. These paintings take a lot more energy. Sometimes I don't have that energy. Like a ballerina. I could see that. So once again, pushing the light. This has to be lighter. I just keep some little inclinations for the ocean or the sea, and we'll detail that out later. If not today, I'll do it on my own at a different time. up. I have to go back to the palette knife. Move that up, just straight lemon yellow. Obviously, we gotta put her in the water. So, let's do that now. So not too bad for 47 minutes. Maybe there's some little reflections of some sort back here. Won't know unless I try. I'm gonna go to the lemon yellow here. Again, pushing light. That's quite bright. Yeah, whatever. Just leave that. Whatever. Leave it be. Leave it be. What? Changing brushes now. This is the skin tone color that I've been using for these shapes, by the way. The yellow, that does have a bit of an orange tone, but I'm just putting it there for later. These are quite difficult to photograph, and you know, since Celeste has an original, she can hopefully vouch for me that I'm not a good photographer. Because it does look different in real life, hopefully better. But yes, there should be a hint of orangey there. It looks different on the TV. Yeah, these all look different depending on the screens. That's why we pay photographers the big money. Photography is not that simple. But I like that this series has forced me to consider things other than what I have been doing for the past 15 or 20 years or whatever. Including the photography. I have found that my phone on portrait mode is much clearer than using this camera. This is a Canon T7i, and it's not as clear. And I've tried everything from polarizing lenses to multiple light sources, from adjacent corners. Well, thanks, Celeste. Usually there's kind of like a warmish tint to the water. I don't know, somewhere around here. You know, every time I make something up in a background, I learn something through my mistakes that I can implement. And I learned from bombing the one painting that had the wolf in it to push the light. And I thank Lucy for that also, because her number one, whenever she sees my paintings after she comes back from work, first thing she says is it finished? The second thing is, it's too dark. I have yet to do a painting in this series that she's like, oh wow. There's been 3 that I can recall. One is the cows. The other is the classical still life. And finally, the landscape with the horses. So basically, all the non-portrait or figure ones she really likes. So I'm trying with this one to push the light. Well, thanks, Grace. Okie dokie. We've got light, hopefully. I mean, this is a lot of paint. I'm putting this much over here. I do not want another remark of my painting being dark when my lovely Lucy comes home. Now that is very bright. And it's good to have a spouse that pushes you, right? You don't want someone that just like cheerleader, not really like telling you as it is kind of thing. Okay, so now we have taken it to a point where I'm pretty sure this looks light, like much brighter. There's only so much I can push water, because the water itself kind of it tends to look dark. But okay, I think it's in a good enough place where after the break we can add form to the face. I'm going to try to push it a little bit further than what I did yesterday. And whenever you want to push realism, think Rembrandt, think Vermeer, Nelson Shanks, and that is the dark. Contrast between dark and light. So I'm pushing this darker shape here. Scapula is over there. Okay. Push the darks. Thanks, Anna A. I don't know, she's a tough cookie. She's tough. It's very tough on me. But she's tough on me because she wants to sell art prints and stickers, bookmarks. So taking these to craft fairs is what she wants to do. So that's why she's a little tough on me. But I can handle it. I can handle the pressure. We are going to paint a male model at some point, by the way, everybody. Yes, I have chosen the female models for the majority of these because that's kind of the classical convention, but I do have some compositions in mind with men as the models. Obviously not in this kind of context because I wouldn't do that, but yeah, anyway, I haven't been asked that yet, but I'm assuming someone out there is wondering when we're gonna paint a guy. But yeah, I got some compositions in mind. Ooh, almost lost the light there. I'm going to take my blending brush to push this down. Ah, that went too far. Too far. So let's go back to the light. Always dry clean your blending brushes. Always dry clean the blending brushes. This is what I mean by dry clean. Yeah, no, Celeste, I don't know about that. I was thinking of like a bearded, like an old man bearded. That's what I was thinking. That classical Rembrandt type convention. A lot of the influence I have with these paintings that I'm doing are John William Waterhouse or Nelson Shanks. Yeah. Because I'm already thinking of what these paintings will eventually look like next to one another in a show. I still have to contact your sister with the smoke shop, because I'm still like not quite there with the paintings yet, even though we've got 20 something of them. I'm thinking of what they look like next to each other as a slideshow, even like what they look like. There's a common theme, which is light, expressiveness, and sometimes a little bit of darkness too. It's kind of funny. It depends on how I feel during the day. But yeah, we'll have some still life and wildlife paintings returning soon as well. Alright, this is the hour 5 minutes. I went past the hour. This might have to be continued tomorrow or Friday because I'm out of time almost. I've got an hour. I don't think I'll finish this in an hour. I wish I didn't have to do the dog walking thing, but kind of have to. Alright, I'm going to take a break, and it's looking like this one is going to have a second day, because I don't think an hour is going to be enough to take this further, but who knows? Who knows? I'm going to go ahead and take a break. I'll be back in about 8 minutes, or 7 or 8 minutes, and we will continue this painting. Welcome to another episode of the 30-minute portrait painting challenge. Today we're working on a 9 by 12 inch cotton canvas that has been prepared with oil paint ahead of time. We're mixing on a wet layer of oil paint as usual with this technique. So as you can see with the finished result on the left, we went for a very kind of like centered pose, a little bit closer to centered, but a little bit 3/4. So we're seeing some of the turn of the face. But anyway, let's explain what's going on here. So this is all real time. There are no edits involved with this video, just voiceover. I decided to do this exercise without talking while painting, which usually makes me more efficient when I don't have to explain while I'm painting. So today's painting is a little bit better than the last time, but what I'm doing here is trying to build the mask of the face. Now the palette is a very simplified palette. It's got pretty much 3 yellows, 3 reds, say 2 blues, and maybe 2 browns. But what we have here is a very simple skin tone, and we're using the same skin tone but applying different pressure on the brush. So when you're working wet into wet, different pressure creates different values, even if you're just using one mixture on the brush. Now, if you can optimize that, then you have saved yourself hundreds of hours worth of mixing little tiny gradations on your palette. Now, this is by no means supposed to be the only way to paint a portrait. There's also a tiling method where you paint every single gradation, every single plane change. Every plane change is a color change and all that stuff. But this is more of an exercise in paint handling and basically just reacting to the paint and trying to see how we can optimize each step. So as we're painting the mask of the face here, you see that with the same brush I added a little bit of a reddish tone, and that's for the left side of the face relative to us, and a little bit by the eye socket there. See how I'm kind of blending that out a little bit by the eye socket and by the cheekbones, and we put it on the concavity of the eye socket on the right side relative to us, and we're using this to kind of blend out the mask of the face. Now what this does is it allows us to build the subtleties of the mask of the face without having to do too much filling in. What I'm doing is I'm preparing the surface of the big planes of the face such that I can go in with a dark brush, preferably starting with the eyebrows, working towards the eyes, the nose, and then ultimately you'll see a neat little trick that we'll use when we paint the mouth. One important thing to mention here is I did get a question about can these methods be done with water mixable oil paints, and yes, I do believe that they can be done with water mixable oil paints, but please note that the paint is traditional oil paint, and it's going to be much thicker and more saturated than water mixable oil paints. So that means that you're going to have to use more paint with the water mixable oil paints than with the traditional. But you can do this same exact method. You just have to use more paint. Now we're going to add a little bit of red underneath of the cheek here. And this technique cannot be used with anything fast drying like watercolor or acrylic or gouache. My apologies for that. This is just a different technique. It requires the paint to be wet the entire time. Now that reddish shape underneath of the nose and the cheekbones, when I was painting this, I was not really thinking about anything other than what the shape of the cheekbone looks like structurally relative to the jaw. So rather than kind of just look at lines and measurements for the face, I was looking at, well, the jawbone looks a little bit, I want to say weaker relative to the cheekbone. And by weaker, I don't mean weak in the sense of a lack of power. I mean just smaller, less mass, I guess less density to it. So you see that the cheekbone is going to be thicker, more angular, and the jawbone is going to be a little bit softer. Kind of like a bouguereau is what we're going for. Now this is by no means supposed to be a method of which how we can create a commission portrait or a perfect likeness of a model. This is reacting to shapes. Now you see underneath of that dark reddish shape, we have added a little bit of light for the cheekbone. And that area is actually going to be a little bit cooler. And the way we achieve that color is by just letting the tone of the canvas, the oil paint tone, just mix with the paint that we already had. Now you see that dark shape for the cheekbone, I keep talking about it. That dark shape for the cheekbone is going to be something we are eventually going to chop into, just like a sculpture. But we're leaving that very strong plane change so that we can cut into it. Now we're adding a little bit more light with some red. And basically what I did was just add a little bit of cadmium red to the brush. Like I said, the traditional oil paints are going to be a little stronger than the water mixable, so you're going to have to use more of it. Not that you can see the palette anyway, but just know that it is possible with the water mixable. It's just going to be a little different. Now we're adding in a little bit. Alrighty then, let's continue this one. I'm going to start to get into the details for the face, and I'm gonna try to stand a little bit for this part. Let's zoom you in, and it's kind of a nasty glare showing up there, but anyway, so I'm gonna blur some parts of the face. So this is just my blending brush. So remember, you only want to dry clean these brushes, the blending ones. Thanks, Jonas. Oh, no worries, Grace. I'll see you next time. Yeah, I'm wondering why it's looking kind of strange on my screen. Oh, I think I missed a comment. Yeah, my feet are much better. Much better. Thank goodness. Thanks for asking. Oh, okay. You said you're here tonight, not tomorrow. Okay. Very important brush. It's just a cheap brush. You can see it's artist loft from Michaels. It looks like one of those makeup brushes. Now when you got a lot of paint on the canvas, you can push it around. Kind of like, almost exactly like clay. Only problem with the cheap brush is the hairs tend to fall out. You'll be out tomorrow, you said also, Mark L. You said painting in week 2 of 5-week pose in a portrait class. Can I join? I just gotta take an airplane ride over there. I want to go. Why am I not invited? You know, it's starting to look like maybe I should take tomorrow off. Maybe just do some studio painting. Or try to... Who am I kidding? This is studio painting for me. Or maybe try to get my pool game back. Maybe take Hugo to a dog park or something. Well, what I really want to do is not bump into my camera. What I really want to do is start creating more products, I guess, related to this series. Maybe take a computer day. anybody else going to be out tomorrow? Let me know. I'm going to go in with the sable brush. Try to get this profile. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, you're right, Mark. I should spend the time to make some shorts. Maybe that's what I should do tomorrow. Absolutely. Excellent idea. I've got enough content from all these paintings that I can do that. It's weird not having construction noise. That's funny. I'm so glad it has stopped. It was a tough time. Well, I'm glad that you missed the construction noise in some way. So like I said, we're looking down at the model in perspective, so it's gonna look like the head is bigger. And if need be, I can grow the torso, which I probably will do. One can get used to anything. Yeah. Well, that was definitely a tough time. Okay, the face is gonna get a little wider. Just gonna move the ear to about here. careful not to make that too light. A light on the hair. That's how cheap these brushes are. There's a time and place for the cheap brushes. Alright, now take a seat again. Clavicle. Yeah, I'm not talking as much right now, or I haven't been talking as much because I'm as concentrated as I can possibly be with this. I don't want it to have to extend to 2 sittings. The whole point of this series is to not do that, so we'll see. Now I'm going to just instinctively grow the arm, though of course in perspective it's going to look different. I'll move it down all the way to the bottom of the frame. As it is in sunlight, there's going to be a touch of red underneath. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. Got 10 likes. Thank you, thank you. really tried with this one, y'all. A little bit extra effort due to time constraints. Pushed as far as I could. Generous amount of cerulean blue on that brush. Thanks, Anna A. Thank you. I'm trying. I know that I need to push the light and get this to turn. Obviously, looking up at the model or looking down towards the model creates some distortion. I'm just rolling with it. Oh, lots of thunderstorms. Yeah, it's been raining like crazy over here too. Totally changes the conditions of the pool tables. Oh, thanks. I was just about to work on this. There should be some folds in the drapery. Definitely pushing my creativity to a different level with this. Or lack thereof. Alrighty, now we're going to add something a little bit extra, kind of in homage of, or whatever we call it, in memory of Monet. We'll add some water lilies. I'm using a very generous amount of sap green because it's very transparent. Don't know how this will work out, but we'll see. Oh, thanks, Anna. I kind of got lucky with that. I didn't really plan that out. It just kind of happened. It's always a calculated risk to add things, especially things that aren't really there. Trying to make sure that these aren't overly symmetrical. The distance, assuming there is any distance here, these would in theory get smaller. Of course, I didn't do a good job to get the illusion of distance. I was more focused on the light. And we'll create a spiral like this. Just because we can. A little bit of creativity. And I don't know what it's supposed to signify. I don't know the story behind this painting. Kind of always evolves in some way or another. Alright, so I think I might have finally pulled it off. I think this is worthy of the series. It's a little tough to try to do all this stuff that we did in less than an hour after the break, but I'm happy with it. I really did push myself as far as I could with my brain, basically, to add a sense of creativity to it, but also push form on the face a little bit. Not too much. Hopefully this background will distract from whatever flaws are still there. This was the painting that almost was not. Almost wasn't. We pushed through. And I thank all of you for watching and liking the video. A rough start to this one, but I'm happy with the direction it went. Some cool stuff happens when you push your limits with painting. And I think that's what it signifies. This right here, this means pushing the limits. Rising above what you were able to do before. And it all has to do with the timing. I mean, I could spend, a whole week on this and make it look all kinds of realistic. It would probably do better on YouTube if I did that, but I don't want to do that. I want to push what can be done in this time frame. Despite it having an entire hour less, I think we really did do something with this. Thanks, Grace. Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching, of course. Of course, happy Mother's Day to all of you. Alrighty, 5 o'clock. We're gonna drop a signature on this one and call it a day. Not an easy one by any means. But it's part of the experience, is trying to do this in this time frame. When these paintings are all exhibited, I want it to be the story, I guess, that it was all done at this time, and trying to get it all done before Lucy shows up to the apartment. Lucy is a big part of this series. So let me just drop a signature and we're good to go. Thanks, Grace. Thank you, Anna A. Thanks for joining, everybody. It was a rough start with this one, but we managed to pull it off. Another one down in this series. Okay, there's the signature. There's the painting. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, the schedule is Monday through Friday. Let's just call it afternoon time. Afternoon time in DC is most likely when you're going to find me here. And if you have not done so, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and turning on notifications so it lets you know when I go live. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you next time.